Video number 2 of your 10 stitch squares baby blanket. I forgot to mention in the first video is that when you're making that first square, all the rows are knit. So you're essentially casting on 10 stitches and knitting for, I believe it will be 18 more rows. You're supposed to count ridges, not rows. So let's count and see. We should have 10 ridges. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's right. It's tricky as well to get that exactly right. I'm noticing that my tail's coming off the lower right hand side. And on the opposite side, I have where the ridge shows. I'm hoping that's going to be right once I put this all together. It's always tricky. Sometimes that ridge shows on the wrong side, and I'm not real sure how to make that right. So what I've done here is I've gone and wrapped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches. You can see how there's a bit of a gap here between my last wrap stitch and the other wrap stitches. So that is always how I know. If I lose count, that's where I am. It's a bit of a gap. So we're going to knit these first 2. Actually only 1 because this third one is wrapped already. So I'm going to knit 1 and then I'm going to wrap the second. And I'm going to turn. There's my last wrap stitch for that half of the corner. I'm going to knit this last stitch and I'm done with the first half of the corner. Now I'm starting on the second half of the corner. So I'm going to knit 2 and wrap the third. So knit. If you have the pattern for the baby blanket, you will have all of these written directions. And the place that you can find that is on my Ravelry page, Marianne Moran's Ravelry store. So I wrapped and turned, and then I'm going to knit these 2 back. Going to turn again. And then you'll be able to follow along and know where you are in the written pattern. Then I'm going to knit 3. And I'm going to wrap that 4th. The reason I decided to do these videos is I know 10 stitch can be tricky in and of itself, but when I decided to make a squares blanket, I thought the videos were going to be important, especially for the part where you're attaching a new square to an old square. And that we'll get on to later. But I wanted to cover these corners because these were tricky for me. There's my gap. You can see that gap there between stitches. That's how I know where I am. I knit up to that gap, then I wrap the next one. Wrap, put it back on the needle, turn, yarn behind, knit back. So this blanket in and of itself is a fun blanket. Each square is about 8 inches across and 8 inches high. And I'm making the total blanket 5 squares across and 5 squares deep. And it came out to be about 40 inches. Which would be 39 or 40 inches, which would be with squares that were about 8 inches. So that makes it, so it's about roughly 40 inches square. You can make it bigger or smaller, adding a row or leaving a row off. And I am also, at the end, I'm going to put a border of some sort on it. It's in the progress right now, so I'm not really sure. I'm sure you have the directions there, so you know what I decided. I'm not sure. I'm making it for a little boy who was just born the other day. March 20th, 2017, he was born in Perth, Australia. So this is for my cousin in Australia who just had a little boy. So working back and forth here, each time knitting one more stitch and wrapping the next. This is the first half of the first corner on the double corner. Normally when you make a 10 stitch blanket, you start in the middle and just keep going around and around, and you only have to do this double corner once. Believe you me, I have gotten very good at it as I've had to do it so many times. I'm on the last row of this blanket, so I'm figuring out all the little things that help me make it. Another part that was tough for me was the actual spot where you attach. When you finally get done with your double corner, that was tricky for me. So I think the video is helpful in that sense too, because you can then see exactly where you are going to pick up that first stitch when you start attaching. I'm going to finish this first corner for you here. Just have a couple more rows. I'm going to wrapping the ninth stitch, and then I'll wrap that. I'll go down and back, and then I'll wrap that 10th one, which is the gray stitch. Then I think I'm going to leave the rest for the next video. So this was video 2 in how to make a 10 stitch squares baby blanket. The squares part is the part that's different from other 10 stitch blankets, in that you will be learning how to attach the squares to each other. So here's my last wrapped stitch, and in your instructions it will say knit 9, wrap 1, and then it will say knit 10 or knit 1 or knit 10 on the next row. Okay, you are now going to look for, you can see your little corner there. There's one completed corner. You can see the little eyelets that it makes, little eyelet holes from all the wrap and turns. That'll be important later for picking up stitches around the corner. Okay, look for video number 3.